This is a...
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
We've had the first part of this with Doug telling us about his career, and we're waiting for Dr. Ben Fordham MD. Doug, if you don't know who Dr. Ben Fordham MD is, he's from 2GB in Sydney, took over from Alan Jones, and Al's not on the station anymore, and he's got some other matters he's attending to, and the doc rings in, and we're very happy when he rings in. So we'll just chat on until the phone goes. But at the start of this part, I said that you were the games record holder at Footscray or the Western Bulldogs. I wasn't sure if that was correct or not, so you might clear that up for me. Are you the games record holder at whatever you call your club at the minute?
Well, I'm still the games record holder, Sam, of the Footscray, which you call them Footscray. You don't call them Western Bulldogs?
No, I don't.
Well, I'm the games record holder of the Footscray Football Club.
At 329
games. The great Teddy played 321. But I have been taken over
Usurped.
Passed by Chris Grant. Chris Grant passed me, and another bloke passed him.
But it was called the Bulldogs then.
Footscray Bulldogs, but now it's the Western Bulldogs. So Brad Johnson now is the games record holder of the Footscray Western Bulldogs. But Dougie Hawkins is the game holder of the Footscray Football Club.
That's you. You're speaking in the third person.
That is me about me. That's me.
Dougie Hawkins.
Yeah,
that's the
me.
very person that you're speaking about is you. So there's three different record holders at the club that you used to play for. Footscray, you're the record holder. The Bulldogs is Chris Grant, and the Western Bulldogs is fucking...
Chris Grant's not in it. He got bypassed by Brad Johnson, the great Brad Johnson,
the Western
the
Bulldogs.
smiling assassin. He played 300. Smiling assassin, smiling killer. He Sam,
right.
He played 364 games for Stroke Footscray Western Bulldogs. Now that's two teams.
Yes, it's the one team, but I understand.
Stroke's important.
Two names, Dick.
Yep. So, but then you went. Have you played more games than him?
Become complicated, this.
No, but then you went to Footscray, to Fitzroy.
Yes, I got sacked.
No,
but I moved on. I'm not bitter.
Hang on.
Yeah, go on.
It doesn't matter if you got sacked. We've been through that. We all get sacked eventually from whatever we think we're doing.
Right, yeah.
So then you play. Do you still have played more games than Chris Johnson? Have you not?
Chris,
what's his name?
Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson. Oh, Braddy, yeah.
No, I didn't, Sam. I only accumulated 21 more games at Fitzroy
so
to give me...
make you 21 and 40, 50, 40.
350.
350, and how many did Braddy?
364.
I see, all right.
So I had to combine Fitzroy to get to the 350.
I understand that.
But I did that because our great mate Bernie Quinlan was the coach. And Johnny Burt was the general manager. That's why I went there. And they're going to get Peter Dacos out of retirement. You didn't know that, Sam?
No, I didn't.
He didn't play in 94, Peter Dacos. He finished in 93. Yeah. So 95, when I went to Fitzroy with Simon Atkins, another teammate from Footscray, Collingwood was going to... Peter Dacos was going to go to Fitzroy. But I heard, allegedly, that Collingwood paid him not to go to Fitzroy.
Yep.
Allegedly.
Did you oversee the demise of Fitzroy?
No, I got sacked the next year.
And then they went out of business?
They went out of business. A bloke called Mick Noonan arrived from Adelaide, from North Adelaide Football Club.
North?
And he said to me, Dougie, you don't fit into my 3-year plan. I said, Mick, if I did, for one, I'll be 39 at the end of it, which I can't fit into that.
He didn't fit into his 3-year plan
He
either,
lasted about 8 weeks and won one game and he snatched it. So I should have stayed and just took his bluff, Sam, and took his bluff on.
Called his bluff.
Called his bluff, that's the word, called his bluff. So I didn't do it. I actually said, listen, I can hear you saying that I'll be off the back pocket, I'll be off the bench. I played 21 games under Bernie Quinlan out of 22. I got 6 Brownlow medal votes, finished 6th in the best and fairest. My move to Fitzroy was good because a lot of people said I was finished. But where I come from, Sam, Braybrook, when they say you can't do it, guess what? That's bullshit.
Where you came from.
You can do it. You can do it if it's in your heart.
So you could play me on a break on a lot of things in life, and I'm being serious. But I tell you what, you should take me on the road as your speech coach, because I've never heard someone fuck up the English language more in a sentence. You get your tenses and your tenses wrong. Like
Sam could be your...
over to Adelaide. You came over to Adelaide, Doug.
But you know I'm trying.
No,
you know what I'm trying to say.
I'm not
Elocution.
It sounds like I'm taking...
Thank you, Dick.
I'm not. It sounds like I'm taking the piss, and I'm qualifying this by saying you could play me on a break in a lot of things, Doug, because you could, but diction and is not one of them.
So diction.
I could come on the road as your speech therapist. I could, yeah, because you said successful. You said before.
What did I slaughter in that paragraph?
Successful. What?
What did I slaughter?
You said you were successful. You left out the double C in it. Successful.
But I think people understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
You have a kind of colourful brogue.
I didn't go to...
Bloke walked round the corner. There's a bloke climbing up a ladder. And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm climbing the ladder to success." He said, "Are you?" He said, "Yeah, success is up the top."
It's a good one. Boom.
Bit off that, isn't it? He got up the top. He said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Cess." Anyhow, so there we are.
That was good.
A bit like the beef.
Speech therapist.
Elocution therapist.
So,
elocution, is it?
so we're waiting for Dr. Ben Fordham, MD. I'll introduce you to him. I think I'll introduce you as the games record holder at Footscray. And see if he can work out what the hell...
He would know.
He wouldn't know. He might know. He's a well-versed... So
he's not AFL, Sam, is he?
No,
Ben?
he's not. I don't know. Are you into the climate change and the electric vehicles and all that? And do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, give us it, will you?
Well, electric cars... we had a shortage of power. Imagine if you rely on electricity and you live in
Millumbimby.
Where was it? Mimbu West or East?
Yeah, exactly. Either
Murbu
one.
North?
North or south,
That is it.
for that
Murbu
matter.
North. Where was it? Murbu North.
Murbu.
You have no power to charge let alone charge your phone. You can't charge your car if you have an electric one. So you know what? Ram your electric car. I want to have a car which I can put unleaded in, and that's what I do with my car out here. Sam, no, I don't like electric cars.
So the hoax of the electric vehicle industry, it is bullshit, Doug.
Well, they blow up.
Well, they're
no good.
For a start. Now, this is. I don't make these things up. This comes on these are the people that. What is that? Ooh, is that a crash? What happened?
I think the door slammed open.
I
don't think it's. I think it's the wind.
So,
maybe it's God.
So the charging banks where electric cars are meant to plug into. If there's a bank of four of them, and you want to charge your car quickly, now listen to this, Doug. I'm not saying this. This is you can Google this.
I want to add something on the back of this, Sam, to you.
They take as much power to charge quickly a bank of 4 charging stations as in a day that would power 1,600 homes. 1,600 households.
Extraordinary.
And they said this is what it said here, there is not enough copper wire in the world to be able to service an electric vehicle industry in the Western Hemisphere. So it is an absolute hoax. It'll never happen.
Yep.
But people feel warm and fuzzy about trying to save the planet. And then they said this is another study. This is how you have, it's people who talk about COVID and then they talk about something else and they say it's all bullshit. A study found out that CO2, which is carbon dioxide, is greening the earth and making vegetation flourish worldwide.
Yep.
They said you can't put enough CO2 into the atmosphere
because trees drink it up.
Trees drink it up, and we are being told that you shouldn't have gas in your stove. You should use electricity. You shouldn't drive you shouldn't use fossil fuels in cars. It is an absolute hoax. The planet is not suffering. Climate is changing, but it's not because of human activity.
Can I change tack a bit,
Please.
Sam, with that? I went into the bank the other day and I said to the teller, I want $1,000 cash. And you know what she said to me? What do you want it for?
That's right.
Really? Is that right?
She said to me,
The
what do you
cheek.
want it? I said, sorry?
Yep,
I
that's
said, it's none of your business. Well, I want it. That's my money.
Yep.
No, what do you want? What we have to do. This is our job. I
Yes,
said,
sir.
that bullshit.
You should have said for you should have said for provisions. I'm buying some groceries.
Yeah. It's all
Say
about
it for whatever
control.
you don't, just say whatever you like.
And then is cash going to be cut out, Sam? Is that?
Well, they're trying to do that because that's a way that
But
they want to
older
control.
people, you know, the older people can't do all that sort of stuff.
No, that's why they haven't got rid of it. But thank
It'll still
God
be
for
here-
the
it'll be here
boomer
forever.
generation.
Cash will not go.
Well, I hope. No, they want to get rid of it because once they do, then basically they'll bring in what's called the social credit system. Whereas if you're like Sam and you question the diversity, equity, inclusion, they switch off your bank account for a week, so you can't eat. You know what I mean? Oh, absolutely. This already exists in China, by the way.
So if you're overweight, they could use that as a weight loss.
Well,
cut your things off so you can't eat.
This is true, but it's
Are
if
you
you
serious?
misbehave. It's a social credit system, right? That's why they want it, and that we're used as control. And also another reason is the electric vehicles are about control because when you have a car full of petrol, you can drive up to
Anywhere.
You can drive up to nil, and then
If you
fill
haven't
up
got
again, and off you go.
enough battery.
There's no way you can.
You can't drive.
It's 15-minute cities. It's all a
Say
plan.
that again, Dick. Say that.
15-minute cities is another strategy to keep people basically like battery hens within 15 minutes of their neighbourhood.
Can't drive more than...
You know, you said, Dick, that makes a lot of sense to where I live. I live in Bacchus Marsh.
Yep, I know the area.
And we're having areas with everything.
Mm-hmm.
From housing to IGAs.
Yeah, it's developed that area of
pools and
late,
all
hasn't
that, up at a place called Stonehill.
Oh, yeah.
Up the top there. 15-minute city.
Yeah, that's what they want, and this electric vehicles are all part of it.
Well, that could be it. That could be one of the 50.
And also-
I'm hearing you say because you're in that you're in a confined area, aren't you? You've got everything.
It's also about wasting money from the public purse because renewable energies at this stage are not they're not fit for purpose. You know what I mean? But they want to drain our because they want to lower our standard of living because poor people are easier to manipulate.
Have you ever driven, Sam, down to that Western Highway? Have you ever? I know you live here. You live here, Docklands. Have you ever had the opportunity to drive at 7:00 a.m. in the morning, like I did this morning, coming down from
7
Bacchus
a.m. in the
Marsh?
morning.
It's an absolute disgrace.
I know. I've driven down the Western Highway
Have you?
plenty of times. And I'll tell you another thing. I drove the treasurer down there many years ago in my Lamborghini.
Tim Palace?
Yes. I drove him down the Western Highway, and if you'll notice, when you come off the Tullamarine Freeway, it goes from 100 to 80 kilometres an hour until you get down to the Bob Jane NASCAR ring down there. And I said to Tim while we're driving, he was driving my Lamborghini. He wanted to drive it. I went and picked him up out at Altona. This is many years ago he's driving, and I said, "Now, mate, you're a politician." I said, "It goes from 100 to 80." He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Just tell me this: why does it go from 100 to 80? Why do we have to drive at 80? It's the same road. There's no houses. There's nothing. Why we?" He said, "I don't know." So, to his credit, he rang me up and he said, "I'll tell you why it's gone from 100 to 80. He said, "Because someone who was merging onto the freeway collided with a car that was on the freeway and didn't merge properly. Either the car didn't let them in, or they didn't back off and just tail in behind them. And everyone now suffers for the 10-kilometre drive at 80k because no one could merge properly. So the government did a knee-jerk reaction, and that's why it's 80. And that's what we're dealing with.
That's nanny state, which is the stupidity of one individual. Therefore, everybody has to suffer.
I hesitate.
We have 2 lanes, Sam. We have 2 lanes from Melton, which has grown enormously into Caroline Springs. Mate, it's ridiculous. It is just embarrassing where we've got 2. There should be a 3-lane highway. For sure. It is... anyway, they wouldn't know what it's like. People from this side, the other side of town, wouldn't know what it's like coming to the West Zoo, as you know and I know. Mate, that Western Ring Road, it is just an absolute debacle. It is a joke.
And there's more cars being registered and more immigration and more people getting licences, and it's only going to get worse.
They can't drive, Sam.
They can't.
They cannot drive.
They cannot drive. And I've watched them, and I
correct,
sit there and I just stay in the left lane and say to myself, have a look at this. wouldn't have got into the cornflakes packet. They got a license.
It took me
Some of these people.
Took me 100 minutes to get to here this morning. You know, like
From where from?
From like out Greensboro way. You know what I mean?
100
Which is
minutes.
not half an hour normally. In peak hour, it's 100 minutes.
Yeah. That's an hour and 40 minutes, Doug. I
Sorry?
don't know why you said 100 minutes. An
An
hour and 40 minutes.
I actually worked that out.
I know, but the fancy Dick from Muff saying
I
took
worked it
100
out.
minutes, so that's
but
an
I-
hour and
yeah.
40.
Yeah, but what do you-
I knew you would have worked that out. Have you worked this out? You've probably never thought of this, Doug. Did you
Go on,
ever?
Sam.
Did you?
Go
I
on.
noticed this the other day. Did you ever used to? Have you ever used a typewriter? I used to have an IBM.
Have I used a typewriter?
An IBM with a ball on it, you know, but this is before computers came. And the top line of a typewriter, I know this, is called quadrilateral. It starts with
Say that again.
the top line of a typewriter is quadrilateral. It's QWERJTY, and the second line is astaphysical, ASDFG, and the bottom line starts with Z. That's the characters on a typewriter. Now they've dumbed it down because no one's ever heard of a typewriter. If you want to access something on the television and you have to dial in the menu, it is all now in just sequential order. It's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which I know this sounds very petty, Doug, but if you've been used to typing on a typewriter and doing the keys in order of what they are on a typewriter, it is quite difficult because you automatically go to the line you think the letter that you want is on, but it's not there. It's all now in sequential order. I know you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but it is not. Some people type, plenty of people can type without looking at the keys.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Their fingers just go onto
Yes,
the keys automatically.
They can look away.
They can type while you're
Hundal
talking.
can do that. Yeah, she does on the computer now.
Because your fingers automatically go to the spaces because it's trained to. Now, if you want to book something on television or access the information on it, you have to actually look where you are putting the cursor.
So they've changed the sequential order of numbers.
What do you reckon I think about that?
Yeah, it's a third world problem, isn't it? They'd love to have this problem in
What do you think I reckon
Uganda.
about
In
that?
Uganda.
I couldn't give a continental salmon.
No, that's right.
But you know that. But I'm happy to hear you. But
Thank you, Doug. I was only just doing this because I was typing in something yesterday and I thought, shit, that's not right. And then I looked at it and they were all in all in a line because kids today wouldn't even know what a typewriter was.
no, that's right.
Then that's
That's a
sad,
fair
isn't it?
Well, they'll have to. Apple will have to change their text messaging and their keyboard because that's exactly like a typewriter.
That's right.
So they're going to have to change that one.
So why on the television, if you got an IQ box on Foxtel or whatever, if you want to find something you're looking for, you type it in, and they're not in sequential. They're in sequential order. The letters. They don't use the typewriter reference. That's my point, Doug. And incidentally, Doug, it is impossible now to watch sport or any program unless you tape it. The amount of interruptions with advertisements. I tried to watch NASCAR. I tried to watch the golf. This is sport. I try to watch I don't watch AFL because if I watch it on Foxtel who don't have ads. It is impossible to watch sport, whether it's the cage fighting or boxing,
Cricket. So
cricket. You must tape everything you watch and then just trawl through the ads because they are mind-numbingly boring and they're so repetitive. If I see one more ad for underwear or finance or that's insurance or bloody health drinks, they are you cannot watch television unless you trawl through the ads.
I've got a question. So if you're watching the commercials, well, obviously you don't, but have you noticed, now this, I'm not saying for or against, but have you noticed how many same-sex couples are in the ads now?
Yep.
Just have a notice. Just
Also,
extra.
Also,
Chewy
it tends to
gums.
be
The girls in the front seat.
a white
together.
woman and a black guy as well. I've noticed that quite a bit.
Amy.
Yep.
Now we mentioned this some months ago. I mentioned that most of the ads for the
100%. That's correct.
we mentioned this a couple of months ago. I noticed this. Most of the ads that for drink driving or breaking the law or speeding are all given to white males, young white males.
Yep.
They get pulled up by breathalyzers, the coppers, they're all white males. And all the fluffy ads like for clothing and holidays are all multi-race people who are given those jobs. Mm-hmm. But all the down ads for drinking and smoking and health and being obese are all white, predominantly white young males.
Do you remember seeing the Smith's chips ad?
Smith.
The two boys on the on a
Smiths.
it didn't last long. Obviously, people would have rang and said that is just a load of crap. Selling Smith's chips. Remember that? Anyone remember that one?
Yeah, I remember it. Yep.
What they do? Well, who was it?
They actually embraced and kissed on the after having a chip together.
Oh, did they?
And there was kids playing over here on the right of them, and they were laying here on the couch.
So this is how the activists
grass.
get involved in trying to change the way you think, and this is what we say. It's so insulting to your intelligence that you have that, for want of a better word, rammed down your throat. If people want to eat Smith's chips and kiss, stop trying to infiltrate and trying to stop trying to. Is he rung?
Yeah, we did.
He's calling in 5. The doctor's calling in 5.
Countdown has begun.
But Sam, that's a serious. That Smith's one stood out to me. It was the one that I.
They've been pushing it for years, but it's really become predominant in recent years, where they just, they push ideology in almost every ad. You can almost see. And,
Extra chewy,
and
the
it's
two
exactly
girls.
what Sam says. How stupid do they think we are? You think we can't see it?
That's what I do.
Now
Yeah, I noticed that most commercial breaks, probably in prime time. So yeah, if you're at home tonight, just have a notice of that.
Have a notice of that. Yeah.
A lot have been chopped, a lot have been cut, and that Smith's one got chopped. He got changed because there's two blokes on a motorbike giving each other the 5 on their hand, and it's gone from laying on a sheet on the ground, by
and it doesn't
embracing
work.
and kissing.
Did you heard about that Bud Light in America? They had this transgender woman, I think, as the kind of, and then everybody boycotted the thing, and the stock went through the floor. Anheuser Bud, I think, or Anheuser Busch. That's right.
Mulaney or someone name is.
Mulaney.
So there's plenty of that going on, but we live and let live, Doug. But we just don't like to have people telling us we have to change our opinion about everything. If you want to change your opinion, that's fine. We live and let live. We don't care what your signal is, what you pretend you are, but please don't insult us by saying there's more than 2 genders and it's all right for men to play women's sport as long as they identify as a woman. It's just bullshit. It is so insultingly stupid, but we let it wash over ourselves because no one's going to push back because they get cancelled. Mm-hmm. They just lose their job. We
come from a state, Victoria, of courageous guts, show guts and all that, and we're not sheep. We've become sheep in Victoria. We have become weak. And that hurts me to say that because I'm a proud Melbourne boy, Victorian boy, Bradbrook boy, Western Suburbs boy. We have become weak and follow the sheep. I don't know much about Tay-Tay. Do you follow Tay-Tay?
Taylor
Sam?
Swift?
Yeah.
I don't.
Sam's a big fan.
No, I'm a fan.
Name one song she sings.
No, I can't. But you're surely not saying. What are you saying about Taylor Swift?
Well, because of the media hype and build-up, mate, someone labelled her as good as the Beatles. Yeah, another planet. As good as Elvis. Please, give me a break. Tay-Tay.
No, but that's
she's a phenomena, though. You can't. She's a phenomena amongst young women.
That's either subjective or objective, whichever one. To say that she is
built up by the media,
but it doesn't matter. We've still got to have someone to go and see her. Like she's sold out 100,000 in 3 separate shows each. 100. She's a billionaire. She writes her own songs. I don't know one of her songs, but I tell you what, you couldn't. And I don't think there's been ever anyone that's got near Elvis or the Beatles or Michael Jackson. But I tell you what, when history is written in a decade, she'll be right up there. You cannot decry.
Am I out of line, Sam?
Not at all. That's your opinion, Doug.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, because certainly it's a different kind of artist to someone like Elvis or the Beatles.
You like Eminem? Do you like that rap stuff? See, he is... Who? Eminem?
What's Eminem?
Eminem?
He's a rapper from the late 90s.
No, but they're a
Eminem. Marshall Mathers.
But they're a lolly M&Ms. Lolly? No, seriously.
M&Ms,
Who's
yeah,
M&Ms?
no, that's right.
Who just say Eminem? What's that?
Eminem.
Is that a band?
M&M.
He's a rapper.
Who's that, Sue? What is it?
Eminem.
He's a rapper.
He used to be popular 20 years ago. He was sort of popular for a while.
He was huge, Doug.
he was.
Like you know that rap music.
What rap music?
Coming down the street, saw him
50
there.
cents.
Yep.
50 cents.
Bit like
50 cents,
He's a friend of his,
50 cents,
yeah,
all that. And
Kanye West.
Kanye West.
Kanye.
Kanye West.
Kanye.
He's gotten into trouble of late, hasn't he?
Kanye West. He's changed his
been a
name
naughty
to
boy.
something.
Yay.
Kanye West.
He goes out with the
Eminem. What's his name? Eminem.
Marshall Mathers is his
Well,
real name.
young girl.
anyhow,
Is that right?
so
sharp,
he is huge, Doug.
dick.
But I don't like that music. But that's only our opinion.
Yep.
But Taylor Swift, you could not. You have to go a long way to criticise Taylor Swift. In fact, you'd be unfair if you. But if you don't like her music, or I couldn't. I've never heard one of her songs, or if I did, I wouldn't know it was her. Mm-hmm. But holy mackerel,
She's big, isn't she?
I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of her music, but she is a phenomena, and I do think she makes a lot of people happy. Like mothers and their daughters tend to be the main audience that go to it, and good luck to them if it makes them all happy. Good luck. And
I might be out of line here. I might have been a bit out of line by having a crack there.
Doug, that's nonsense, Doug. That's your opinion. That's what we do. And
you're entitled to it.
You know, an opinion can never be wrong. Only facts can be wrong. That's your opinion.
I'm not saying she's no good. I'm just saying that
Yes.
when they started saying as good as the Beatles
That's
and
right.
Elvis, you're kidding, aren't you?
Well, I wouldn't say that either. But I tell you, when history is written, she'll be
Up there with them.
She'll be probably the second name that rolls off your tongue will probably be Taylor Swift. If anyone ever topples Elvis off the top, I'd like to see that. But that's people say Elvis has been well surpassed by other. Do you know who the biggest selling musician, biggest selling artist in America mightn't be now, but was a couple of years ago, country singer called Garth Brooks.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
You ever heard of Garth
I have heard of him, Sam.
Yeah,
yes.
well, he's huge.
What's the Sheila Kidman? What's her name? From here, she married
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman. What's her bloke's
What's the
name?
Sheila Kidman called?
He's a country
Keith
western
Urban.
singer. Keith Urban. Thanks, Sue.
Welcome.
Keith Urban. He's good.
He is good.
Do you like him?
I do.
Country.
I like country and western. I like the old, Willie Nelson.
You know, Taylor Swift was country
Kenny
when she
Rogers.
started. She came from Nashville.
She did.
The late Kenny Rogers.
Yep, her first album was country
Like
music.
Kenny and Dolly. Well, I like her then.
No, Dolly's still with us.
I
Kenny's
like
not.
her. I'm a bit hard on her, Sam. I want to retract.
Who are you hard on?
Trevor
Taylor.
Swift. I mean Taylor Swift.
Trevor Swift.
I want to retract that.
What did you say originally? You didn't say anything derogatory about Taylor Swift.
No, I didn't,
You
but I
just
just said
said
that
she wouldn't be, in
we
your
all followed
opinion,
her.
she wouldn't be, in your opinion, next to Michael Jackson, the Beatles, or Elvis. That's a very fair comment. But I'm just saying to you that she's she eventually, when it's all written in dust and set in stone, you'll find that she'll be right up there because she. The beauty of what she does, she writes her own songs, as opposed to Frank Sinatra.
Sell her music at the end. She'll sell her right in the songs at the end and make millions.
See,
and
the
millions.
Beatles wrote their songs.
1.5 billion she's worth, Sam.
Yes, the Beatles wrote their songs. Elvis didn't write any songs, nor did Frank Sinatra. Here's the dog. Here we go. Righto. Doc?
Hello.
Holy mackerel. Now, Doc, let me just introduce who's here with us. I've built you up so big that you better be good.
Oh, no.
We've got Doug.
Oh, no.
Have you ever heard of Doug Hawkins, who is the record games holder for the Footscray Football Club in AFL? Doug Hawkins used to
Doug,
be...
what a pleasure to meet you, Doug. Thank you very much for joining the podcast today.
Lovely to be involved, Ben.
Doctor, his name's
Well,
Doc.
it's going to be all downhill from here, Sam. It's going to be all downhill after Doug Hawkins.
And we've got Dick from Muff is in.
Yes.
I told you it was going downhill.
And we've got Ivan over here and Susan Stanley, OAM.
Well, it's just lifted a bit. It's just lifted a bit with the OAM.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Has Doug Hawkins got an OAM yet?
No, I haven't, Ben.
He can't pronounce the 3 letters in order at this stage.
And what about you, Sam? Has anyone suggested at any point that you should receive some kind of Australia Day honour?
Plenty of people have suggested I shouldn't receive any sort of honour or award at all. So I've taken that on advisement, Doc.
Now, speaking of Australia Day, have you heard the breaking news that's come through today about the boss of Woolworths, Brad Banducci?
Yeah, you interviewed him.
What's
Yeah,
happening
and
there?
Brad Banducci, this is a really interesting situation because he has lost his job today. I mean, he's quitting. He's decided to go. But we know what happens in high-profile, well-paying jobs like this. People don't go of their own volition. They kind of read the room and they realise it's time to go.
We had this very discussion about being sacked, Doug, and all that. You eventually get sacked no matter how you top and tail it.
Yeah, and he basically is gone because of what happened with Australia Day, which is pretty extraordinary to think that a year or so ago he was looking at The Voice and probably thinking, okay, The Voice is going to get up and, we need to think about Australia Day 2024. Let's get rid of the Australian flag and the stubby holders and the thongs and everything else. It blew up in his face. Australia really reacted strongly to it and said, mate, we don't like someone trying to cancel Australia Day. And now he's gone. I mean, he walked out of an interview with Four Corners on Monday night when he was being asked about supermarket prices and competition. He broke the golden rule of television, Sam, which you know better than anyone, which is if you're being subjected to a grilling, don't spit the dummy, don't walk out because they're going to make that the key part of the promo and the story. Well, he did that on Monday night, and here we are on Wednesday, and he's no longer the boss of Woolworths.
Well, he got his just desserts, Doc, and you interviewed him after Woolworths decided not to show Australia Day memorabilia, and you gave him a bit of a grilling and just asked him the questions everyone wanted to know the answers to.
Well, I did say to him before he did that interview, because I spoke to him the day before while I was convincing him to do the interview. I said, if I was you, I'd be saying sorry. And he didn't really do that with the same level of passion that I was suggesting because, sometimes you've just got to realise, hang on a moment, I've lost this argument. I just need to apologise, cop it sweet and move on. And he's not a bad person at all, Brad Banducci, the boss of Woolworths, because I've dealt with him before to do with a charity that he supports and I support as well. So good people make bad mistakes, and he certainly made one in the last little while.
Hey, Ben, has that got a lot to do with the Australian Day not supporting it?
Yeah,
Woolworths? Is
mate,
that all about that?
That's what we're talking about, Doug.
Okay.
That's
I'm
it.
just saying
That's
why he got sacked, Ben. Just that, the Australian Day not supporting
I mean, that was the beginning of the end for him because before that, Doug, no one knew who Brad Banducci was outside of the corporate world. No one would have ever heard of him. And the moment he started fiddling with Australia Day, Aussies get very protective around those things, the same as people do around Christmas or Mother's Day or Father's Day. I'll give you an example, right? This is a classic case. This was a few years ago. A few years ago, I was asked to host a Mother's Day awards. So they said, look, can you come along? We're going to crown our Mother of the Year, and they have a young Mum of the Year and an older Mother of the Year. And I went along and I hosted this event, and you meet these remarkable women, some of whom might have fostered, 50 different kids, or they've set up businesses to help young women, whatever they might have done. Anyway, I handed out all these great awards, and then when it came time for the next year, the mob who was organising the awards said, oh, look, we won't need you this year because we're not having the Mother's Day awards anymore. And I said, oh, okay, no worries, all right, no problem. But then they let slip, they said, it's because it's not very inclusive. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, not everyone's got a mum, and, what is a mother? Do we really want to be celebrating just certain members of society in this day and age? And I said to them, look, I think you're making a horrible mistake here. And they did, I ended up then doing it on radio. People called in and went berserk. Another organisation then stepped in and said, well, if they're not going to host them, we will. And it was a sign that people are very protective of some of those traditions that we have around our country, our mum and our dad. And, and some of those other key celebrations we have, like Christmas or Easter.
Your ears must have been burning, Doc, because we have discussed this on the first segment about a bloke who got a letter sent to him because he won a maths competition, and the school said they have done very well and they had the top score, and his father said, "Were the two people in it?" And he said, "No, the school just calls him they because they don't want to identify him as a man, a boy or a girl." and
Unbelievable.
And the mothers and fathers these days are called birthing parents. They don't they don't differentiate between who's having the kid or not. Now, Doc,
I think you'll find everyone does have a mother technically, though. I mean, I don't think there's anybody, no matter who they are, didn't emerge from a woman, unless maybe they've got some.
Now, Doc.
Yeah, I think you might. I think you might be right there. I mean, I know that we were talking about test tube babies and things like that in the 1980s, but last time I checked, I think everyone's got a mother. So it is a strange world we live in. I saw a comedian do a bit recently where he said, I've got this son. And he's a real boy's boy, if you know what I mean. He's a bit of a he, him. And he got this great reaction because it's like, I mean, how crazy that we've got to the point of having to define these things about and worrying about, am I allowed to say this word? Am I allowed to say the word him? Can I say her? Can I say mother? Can I say father? But you know what? The mob has decided that they're going to ignore a lot of this BS that goes on, and that's the main thing. And it's kind of encouraging to see so many people pushing back and saying, no, we're not going to be ordered around and bullied into behaving a certain way that makes absolutely no sense.
Now, Doc, you did you not, or did I read this incorrectly? Did you interview a man called Shane Rose, or did you say...
yes.
Just tell us what Shane Rose did and how the Olympic Federation is deciding if Shane can actually represent the country.
Shane Rose is an equestrian star, and he's hopefully going off to the Paris Olympics, and they were holding an equestrian event, and for a number of years they've had a fancy dress element for a little bit of fun to show that they're not all, as posh as we might think they are when they're involved in equestrian. And one of the outfits that he wore was a mankini, right? So a little bit like Borat wore in that movie Borat. So he had the mankini on, which is a little bit like a G-string that goes all the way from the Jats crackers to up above the shoulders. And anyway,
very nice.
One person complained. One person complained. So what does Equestrian Australia do? They launch an investigation. They stand down Shane Rose until the investigation is complete. And good on Shane Rose because he decided to tell everyone about it. And now Equestrian Australia has read the room and realised, okay, this is ridiculous. We're not going to bar a bloke for wearing a mankini. So he's now okay. He's cleared, and hopefully he's going to be there at the Paris Olympics. But it just goes to show you the power of one. One whinger has a sook, and people start getting petrified and thinking we better react to this.
And it was a bit dicey at one stage because when he tried to get off the horse, they had to rock him to break the suction on the saddle.
Well, that's what I did ask him. I said, hey, listen, what was the chafing like? You know what I mean? Because I just can't imagine on the leather saddle, and you've got, the little boys down there, and I mean, I don't know about yours, but mine are very, very delicate. You know what I mean? They don't want to be thrashed around.
Jesus, my plums now hang over the saddle like they're saddlebags.
I'm sure Sue's enjoying all of this. Sorry about that.
Well, he got his ort stuck on the saddle. Anyhow, so he's back in town, and I wonder if he'll wear it in the Olympics in the Australian colours, gold and green, but just have the mankini at the Olympics. That should get some press.
When I interviewed him, I said, hey, when you go to Paris, you should pull it out over there in Paris. Now, I meant the mankini, but I did then receive a few people saying, what are you talking about? He should pull it out in Paris. But anyway, I'm off to Paris as well this year, so I'll be talking to you at some stage from France when I'm over there for the Olympic Games.
Wow, you're taking the bride?
No, the bride is going to be staying at home, and she'll be working, and the kids will be at home as well. And look, it's not much of a holiday. As I've said to Jodie, when I go away with her, I prefer not to be working because it is going to be one of those things where I'm going to be working pretty hard and covering the Olympics and doing a radio show and everything else. Hey, listen, have you seen the thing about Brendan Favola? Have you seen what's happened to Fev?
No.
Okay, Brendan Favola has been told that he's facing arrest by Victorian sheriffs unless he pays $26,000 worth of fines on the spot. So apparently he's got more than $25,000 worth of outstanding fines and tolls. So I don't know how this happens. I do remember
he thought Ben he was bankrupt. Once you decide you're bankrupt, all these say fines and bills, what they may be, he thought they just get deleted, but they don't.
Once you get back on the way, back on top financially, they go again for you, do they?
Yeah, well,
it doesn't get wiped. So it was from.
No, he's now been told you've got to pay the amount in full. And all of this unfolded. A sheriff turned up at his house, and his wife was there as well, Alex, at the time, and she saw all this unfolding. And according to Fev, Alex, his wife is absolutely filthy. So $26,000 worth of unpaid fines.
The sheriff walks into the house and he'll nominate what he thinks is worth $26,000. So they'll put that in a hold until you stump up the money for the 26.
Well, Benny's wife pulled out her credit card and just went bang, and there was $26,000 paid. That's the mail I got. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, well, he's in a bit of a spot of bother, Fev, but anyway, it's good to see those two still together because they went through a couple of tough matches over the years.
When you go to Paris, are you covering a particular sport, or are you just going over there
I'll be doing
interviews?
Yeah, I'll be hosting the radio show from over there and just doing bits and pieces for Channel 9's coverage. I don't know what I'll be doing. I did offer to commentate the table tennis because I thought that'd be a bit of fun. I'd love to get really into the table tennis and get to know all the key players in table tennis worldwide and be the voice and face of table tennis for the Nine Network. But they haven't got back to me on that offer, so they might have found someone better to commentate the table tennis.
Hey, Ben, I heard Channel 9
you idiot.
asked you to host the racing, the Victorian racing down here. Is that? Can you?
No.
You've been asked before. Eddie got asked. Is that right?
No, they've got our mate Eddie doing that. And I spoke to Eddie yesterday about it. I had Eddie on the show yesterday, and you know what? I followed up on the conversation that he had with you guys, Sam, just last week. I thought that was really interesting how you had Eddie on after his trip to the Super Bowl, and he pointed out some of those holes that we have in sporting infrastructure in Australia, like, Taylor Swift performing at the MCG, what if it rains?
Yep.
And you had the big blackout just a day or so before after the wild storms in Victoria. We've got the same thing here. We've had massive storms in Sydney, and now we've got Taylor Swift Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday night. Now, if there's a massive storm, I don't know what happens to the concert. So how crazy that we don't have that facility in Melbourne or Sydney, our two biggest cities. I mean, I know you've got other smaller locations where you can have a roof, but you can't have a big stadium concert for someone like Taylor Swift or Elton John or Billy Joel without worrying about the weather.
So did the doctor ask the connections of Taylor Swift for an interview?
No, however, Taylor Swift was dining last night at a restaurant in Sydney, and it just so happens that one of my radio listeners was sitting 2 tables away from her and snapped a photo of her there in the restaurant. And so I had her on this morning, Sarah, telling us all about what it was like to be sitting just metres from Taylor Swift. So my wife and my daughter Pearl are going to a concert this weekend in Sydney, so they're very excited. I landed 2 tickets and I thought, I think this is a good one to flick past to Jodie and Pearl.
Well, my son, Jack, he took my 2 granddaughters and his wife. They went along to Taylor Swift for her third concert here, third 100,000 person. So we were discussing this before you came on. Doug Hawkins, this is his opinion and probably mine as well. He said Taylor Swift would never surpass Elvis or the Beatles, or how could you say them almost in the same breath? And I did say, I think, Doug, would be fair to say, when history is written, you'll find that Taylor Swift will be, unless she's just a couple of years or 2 or 3 year wonder, she'll be right up there when it comes to superstars.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like comparing AFL players from different decades. It becomes very complicated when you do that, but I'd say that she would be up there. If you looked at the at the top 5 biggest names in music in the history of music. And you'd have to say that the Beatles are in there and Elvis Presley's in there. I think you'd have to say that she's in there as well.
And she does have
Frankie, Elton John, Billy Joel.
Michael Jackson.
I don't know. But I'll give you just one example on that. Someone said on the text line while I was on air earlier this week, they said, mate, she's not the biggest star in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo is the biggest star in the world, right? The soccer player. Yeah. Well, we went in and had a look. We did some research on what's he worth and what she's worth, and I'm here to tell you she's worth a lot more than him. I mean, she is a massive, massive name, a big star, a branding expert. She's just so good at positioning herself. But, yeah, I mean, you look at when the Beatles arrived down under, it was Beatles mania back then, and there's Taylor Swift mania today. So I suppose
she has
good luck to all of them.
She has a wholesome quality, I think, and obviously she seems to resonate with kind of mothers and their daughters and stuff. So, I think it has an audience, and, it's a lot better than some stuff that's around today anyway.
Well, you know what? On that, Dick, I think this is interesting. She stands up for herself.
Exactly.
She doesn't take crap. And I think as the father of 2 young daughters who are 7 and 4, I like that about her. I like about Taylor Swift that when Kanye West did something to her where he got up and spoiled it when she won a Grammy Award and whatever.
Yeah, that was a disgrace.
She handled it well, but later on she finds a way of kind of getting square with people. She had this other bloke, Scooter Braun, who's a big kind of agent and producer who ended up buying her back catalogue.
Yeah, and George Soros was involved. George Soros was involved.
Yeah, so then she was like, so hang on a moment. So now every time someone listens to my music, that prick who I can't stand is going to earn $1. So she went and re-recorded all of the music and released them as Taylor's versions. I think there is something to be said about a strong woman.
Guts. Yeah, that shows guts.
Yeah, who shows guts when she's challenged.
Well, and she writes her own songs, which is
that's good too.
Yep. And she's also attractive.
She is,
and her partner Doc,
positive role model.
Her partner Doc. If you upset Taylor, you don't want him grabbing you by the throat.
Kelsey.
Well, I'm here to break some news to you. Kelsey. I'm here to reveal.
What is it?
Hang on.
I'll reveal exclusively on the You Cannot Be Serious podcast that the boyfriend, the gridiron player, he'll be gone within 3 months.
Wow.
Oh, Doc.
Gone.
Elaborate, Doc.
Is that...
Well, what will happen is, right, he's going to go and party now post-Super Bowl, right? So he'll be out with his mates having as much fun as he can. And I just think that Taylor, I think something's going to happen in the next 3 months where she's going to go, you know what, he's a nice bloke, he's a good football player, but he's not husband material.
Could she find an Aussie? Could she find an Aussie maybe down under? Sydney this weekend.
Now you're talking.
That's a very fair comment, that, Doc, because if you saw him carrying on like a cockhead, I know he's a bogan.
He does look like one, doesn't he? An American bogan.
He's an American redneck.
I don't know. I love a love story, but something's telling me that there's going to be a crash coming to that relationship.
Right, we're putting this down in the almanac here, Doc. You've predicted this in 3 months when she splits up.
It'll be all over.
We will be referring to this, saying that you are the prognosticator.
And you sound pretty good, Sam. Are you in a good place at the moment?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm laughing. Jeez. No, I'm just...
What's wrong?
Nothing, no, just stumping along. I'll tell you what, you got to have a thick skin. I interviewed John Setka. I don't know if you've ever heard of John Setka.
Oh, I heard that, yeah, from the CFMEU.
Did we take a nice fucking belting for that? Christ, I did, and so did he, just for interviewing John Setka. So you've got to have a thick skin in the business, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, people can get very funny about why do you talk to this person or why do you talk to that person.
It's a person of interest.
Exactly.
I love talking to people who have got different opinions compared to my own. I mean, if you're in an echo chamber the whole time, life can become very boring. And I'm with you. I've got so many friends who are absolutely different to me when it comes to political opinions and life experience. So, Sam, don't listen to them. And let me just ask one more to Doug before I say goodbye. Doug, you had a crack at Parliament at one stage. Are you tempted to have another go at Parliament, or is that stage of your life done and dusted?
Ben, I think it was 2013, and I was number 2 on the ticket, and a good mate of ours, Barry Michael. Remember Barry Michael, Doc?
Yep.
ex-world champion fighter. He was number one. Jackie Lambie, the great Jackie Lambie was... I got a story there, Doc, but we'll leave that alone. She was a part of that. And I think I got a feeling, Doc, you would back me up on this one. Glenn Lazarus might have been... Is that sound right?
Yes, he was. Yep.
And he actually got in as a senator. He made it in New South Wales, if I'm right or wrong there.
Yeah, no, he became a senator. We call him the brick with ears, Glenn Lazarus, one of the toughest rugby league players ever to play the game. And yeah, what about Clive? Did you have much to do with Clive Palmer at the time?
Well, he actually rang me to ask me to be involved in it, and I thought it was my great mate Russell Gilbert. You remember Russell Gilbert, Hey Age Saturday?
Yeah.
Well, because me and Gilbo went to school together, we grew up together, and I thought it was Russell. So I chucked on a different voice.
Oh, no.
I said, are you related to Scotty Palmer? He said, he said, no, I'm not.
No.
And then I said to him, are you the cousin of Chicken Palmer? And he hung up. I thought it was Gilbo. So I was taking the piss out of him. And then Barry Michael rang me and said, mate, the billionaires just rang you and you asked him, is he the cousin of Chicken Palmer? Mate, he's pissed off.
Oh, mate, isn't it the worst?
Well,
Isn't it the worst?
I did say to Doug, Doc, that if he goes back on the campaign, I said, there's one thing you must retain me as, that is your speech therapist.
Oh, too good. Hey, listen, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll catch you in a couple of weeks.
Good on you, Doc. You're a star. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was very good, Sam.
That's a good one.
All right, so, well...
So Sam, very quickly, the reason why I asked him about the Australia Day with Woolworths, it's a month ago. Why haven't he got sacked
Doug,
4 or 5 days later
Doug,
and a month later?
He came on, and that was exactly why he came on. He told us that the man had got the sack over that, and you said, did he get the sack over the Australia Day?
Why did he get sacked earlier, Sam?
Well, because it took a while. For Australia Day's only been a fortnight away, and it took a
while
while for the wagons to circle and
chickens to come home to roost.
Yeah, so but I liked it when you said, "Now is that why he got sacked?" He just spent the whole 5 minutes telling you that's why he got sacked. Now we're just going to finish this. We won't do another segment. We've got their interview.
I've got to go to my next gig, Sam. It's in December, but go on. Not a bad line, that.
Very good line, very good. Now we're just giving a shout out to. Have you ever heard of michaelchristianmenswear.com? He sells.
Players.
No. Same name, but
Okay,
He sells the hats. If people, they're called "You Cannot Be Serious" hats. He's sold out of them several times, but he's managed to secure a small cache of hats that were made and have been let go and put onto the market again. So if you want a "You Cannot Be Serious" cap, like a baseball cap thing, just the normal caps, you can get in touch with michaelchristianmenswear.com, and for the very, very reasonable tariff of, I don't know what they're selling for, but Don Scott said they're overpriced no matter what they were selling for. So I said, that's going a long way to actually promoting the product, Doug. So Don, anyhow, he's got the caps. Kate Save, you've ever heard of her? She's BeFit Food.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's very good product.
Very good product, and Kate's out there, and we like to give her a shout out. And there's a couple of other shout outs just quickly. Ken was at the town hall. At the town hall, when we went to the Australia Day function, we neglected to mention Ken about.
Wasn't it at the Neil Mitchell thing?
It was. It was at the
Neil Mitchell.
So
that was a town hall rather than Parliament House.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Where was it, Sue, please?
Melbourne Town Hall.
So Ken is he a carpenter? What is he? He's been there for 27 years, and we forgot
Electrician, yeah.
He was a food man.
Okay. So Ken, hello, and he listens. And
was it Ken or Keith?
Kenny, it is.
And then Alan from the Point Cook Central Football Club. Did we ever give a shout out to Alan?
No, he was down at Kippers, wasn't it? The fish and chip place where you were eating your chippies. Chippies.
Now, this has been going almost. What we like to do is read out comments that people do. I couldn't read out the comments about John Setka and me. Why were we interviewing John Setka?
Why do people have a problem with it, Sam?
He's my boss, Sam, by the way.
Well, so
I'm a member of the CFMEU.
So there's a hell of a lot of people are in his on his side. And of course, there's a hell of a lot of people aren't, and that's the employers and the employees, the never-ending battle between them and us. So I'm very glad I spoke to him. He's a very nice man. I don't know what he's done. And we asked him all the questions. They said, "Oh, you were soft." We asked him all the questions about his domestic disputes, about his disputes with governments, about, and he was very glad I interviewed him, and I'm thanking him again. We had on Heidi Victoria. I've got all the comments here, and they said, Jesus, Heidi was a spokesman for the electric vehicle industry and said the climate change, and you pulled her up on that. And I said, no, they were Heidi's opinions, and she was very well received by some, and like everyone. And someone said, Frank, I wrote this down, Frank from West Carrum said, "Why don't you let Sue Stanley speak more? Are you scared that she may say something you have to agree with, or is this just your misogynistic trait that's coming out?" I thought, well, that's a reasonable building. I let Sue say anything, and if I agree with it, I agree, and I don't know how that's misogynistic. That is, Doug, I think that means you don't like women, doesn't it? Or what's misogynist mean?
That's what it means, Sam, but I think you definitely like women.
You're sexist.
I'm a raging heterosexual.
You don't like them, Sam. You love them.
Some of them I do, don't some of them.
I thought I'd chuck that in. But he doesn't like them, he loves them.
We I think it'd be fair to say, I can't speak for all of you, but the men here, I think we're heterosexuals.
Correct.
It's a sort of
very traditional.
Not allowed to be called a heterosexual anymore. He's sort of one of the minorities.
We're allowed to be
White heterosexuals are one of the
minorities.
minorities.
As well, that's terrible.
One of the minorities in the community at the minute, Doug.
Dick.
You haven't strayed any. I don't mean with other women.
I'm very flexible at times.
Flexible. No, you haven't. You haven't been tempted to befriend people of the same sex ever, have you, Doug?
No.
You have good friends who are males, but you've never had a romantic.
Never had an encounter.
Never
fantasy?
had a romantic.
No fantasies?
Fantasy interest in someone of the same sex, Doug. Have you?
Yeah, well.
You're thinking about that?
I'm probably open to most things.
That's right.
Not sure about that, but
if you're standing erect and breathing, you're through to the semis without dropping a set, as we say. Man, woman or beast. I don't know. I think we'll cut out beast. But men or women, I suppose we'll have a crack. We've got an open mind.
Open up a crack.
Beef curtains.
We can't be on air, surely.
No, surely not anymore.
No, we're not. So anyhow.
Play the music, Sam.
So anyhow, Sue, thank you so much. And Doug, that was.
Thanks, Sam.
I'll tell you what I'd like to ask you on air. Could you do this once a month?
I could.
Yeah, well, so we have Greg Evans comes in once a month, and we'd like you to come
Greg.
in.
He's good, Greg.
Yeah. We'd like you to come in.
No, that'd be nice, eh?
But I'm sure we'll speak.
Let me talk to Hundale, sweetheart.
Yeah, we don't get paid. None of us get paid.
Sorry.
None of us get paid.
No, I can't come in, mate. I'd like to come in, but I'm road traffic control. You know, I'm on $65 an hour. Go on. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. None of us get paid. We don't make any money out of this. Hence Wayne Lubby saying that we make money out of belting.
With the footy, Sam, that might be good. It'd be good.
What's that?
About the footy and all the
That's
stuff.
That's right. So only if you're down here for your work commitments,
stuff,
or you have to go and have your hearing checked.
I'm going to see Dr. Theodore Redhead now.
Dr. Theodore.
Dr. Theodore.
Doug and Dick.
Thank you.
Doug, Dick, Ivan, and Dickhead me and young Sue.
The marvellous Sue.
Thank you very much.